Hey guys, me and Shannon are working on putting new shutters up. Got a couple requests here on how to make them, how we're replacing them. So gonna do a quick video here, try to show you the steps of how to go from this style shutter to this cool trendy Craftsman style, or also board and batten, I guess they're called. But yeah, you want to update your look on your house. They're relatively simple. A couple tools, I'll go over real quick what tools you need to make it easier. Yeah, let's get started. All right, to do this, you're gonna be cutting a lot of boards, so you're gonna need some type of saw. Best option is to have some type of miter box. Cuts fast, it's consistent. You're gonna be doing a lot of cutting, so it's nice. A miter box is super nice. They're not cheap though. If you don't have a miter, I don't have one. This is my dad's, borrowed from him. If you have a power saw, circular saw, that would also work. A jigsaw, any type of saw would work, but yeah, circular saws would be better. Jigsaws would take forever. You could hand saw if you wanted to, but I think you'd give up on the project long before you finished. Next tool you'd probably want is a drill and some sort of impact screwdriver gun. The drill is just for putting the holes in your new shutters to screw them on, and the impact or screw gun will be for taking the screws out, obviously, and putting the new ones in. When it comes time to assemble the shutters, you're going to need some type of clamps. I like these clamps, but turns out they didn't work. I call these Eddie clamps because my Uncle Eddie introduced me to them. Eddie clamps are sweet. They're quick squeeze, pull, whatever, but you're gonna need them at least the width of your shutters. My shutters turned out to be 14 inches wide. My clamps are only 13.5, so it didn't work. So I went to more of like a cabinetry style clamp. One of these. These are great. You're gonna want at least 2 of these. You're also gonna want 1.25 inch deck screws. You want to get the deck screws because they won't rust. You're going to want some wood glue, and you're going to want a nice side, like a good ladder that you can reach. If you have second story windows, you're going to need a ladder so you can get up to them. When you're using your ladders, make sure you're practicing good safety. Don't stand on the top rung of your ladder. And maintain 3 points of contact when you're on your ladder at all times. To get started, you're going to want to measure your shutters. You're going to want to recreate the length, so your new shutters will be exactly the same length, and you have the option to change the width if you want to go to a wider shutter. I wouldn't go to a narrower shutter. What typically happens on an old house, when you pull your shutters off, you'll see that the paint or siding or whatever faded underneath it. So if you go to a narrower shutter, you're going to see the faded paint underneath. So I'd go the same width or a little bit wider. Once you have your width figured out, you're going to have to figure out what style board and batten you want to go with. So ours were a 4 board wide and 3, I guess these are the battens, 3 battens on it. A lot of people only do 2. So if you want to do 2 of those, that's up to you. Some people do 3 vertical boards with a wider board. Some people like to put a gap in between. There's a lot of different options, so figure that out because you're going to need to figure out how it works out with your width. I would use a 1x style board, 1 inch thick. So a 1x4. So we used 1x4 boards. 1x4s are 3.5 inches wide. So this is industry standard. A 1x6 is going to be 5.5 inches wide. A 1x8 is going to be 7.5 inches wide. You buy at Home Depot, you can cut everything to length on their saw right there, which is nice. They have a nice big circular saw. You get one of their guys to help you, and he can cut you a couple hundred feet of wood. You might be there for a while, but it might be nice to come back with all your wood cut to length, and it'll fit in your car if you don't have a truck to haul it on. Okay, so for wood type, we chose to go with pine. Some people do cedar. There's some other choices you can do. Pine's really cheap. It also takes stain very well, so you can get your color using the stain. Pine lasts well outside. Cedar is a great wood to use outside, and some people like the color of cedar without any stain on it, but cedar's expensive. Pine's really cheap. I mean, if we're talking price here, I have 13 windows, so 26 shutters. it's about, I think it's like $300 in pine that I had to buy to do this. So it does take a fair amount of wood, but if you figure if you were purchasing shutters, it's still a lot cheaper. So it takes a fair amount of stain as well. I think we're using close to a gallon of stain. So the stain's also going to help protect it outside. You can pick a color you want. The color we went with, which we tested a couple out. This is Czar Deck and Siding Semi-Transparent Stain. It's the dark tint base, and the color is Manor Brown. So if you like the color, I'll see if I can find it, put a link up or something. You're going to want to cut all your boards to length and then stain them and then assemble your shutters. If you stain your boards before you cut them, once you're done, all the ends of your boards are going to be raw wood, and then you're going to have to go back and restain all the ends. So it's nice, get them all cut to length. You can stain every edge, and you are even going to want to stain the back and the inside edges that are going to get hidden, because it's going to help protect it from moisture damage over the years. So, all right. So step one. I think we're past step one. Step two, cut your boards to length. Step three, stain them. Step four, assemble them. So, got my 4 boards. You want to pick out the nice side of them. Usually when you're staining them, one side ends up a little nicer than the other. So, pick that side out. Alright. We did ours without a gap, so I just held mine together tight. I made this handy dandy gauge. All it is, I'll show you in a second. Use this, you want to get all your boards lined up. Nice, so they're close. And then get your 3 cross pieces, or 2, however you're doing it, set them in the general area. And then this gauge, I have this piece of wood screwed on here right at the length I need, so I can slide that up. It's just about right, doesn't have to be perfect yet. I didn't bother making one for the middle. I know I got it centered, and that's at 30.5 inches to the edge, puts it in the center. So the reason I'm just getting these roughly located is because we got to put glue on, and then we'll get them close. So put a clamp usually right behind where the top and bottom boards are going to be, and at this point, as you start to snug it up, you want to line your boards up. If they're bowed, they'll be out of whack, so you can kind of line them up by hand. Your screws will do it a little bit, but it's nice to get it close this way. So tighten your clamps. All right, and now we know these are close. 30.5. All right. We want to make sure glue ends up right underneath it. I just take a regular old wood glue. This is just a secondary measure to keep these, make them last as long as possible. Put a strip of glue underneath. Okay. And there we go. Need my impact gun. You're gonna want a nice impacts. Make this way easier because it runs them in faster. Yeah. So 1 deck screw, 1.25" deck screw, 1 through each board from the back side, so you won't be able to see them. Some people want like a decorative lag, so you can get like a big black bolt. If you want to see that, put that on. Alright, so now I'll take this and line it up on both sides. Make sure it's even. And then from the underneath, send a screw right up into the middle of it. And sometimes they'll move a little. You can double check them depending how picky you want to get. I've got to move. I don't know. I found you really can't even tell if they're a hair off. You'll never even know. Well, you'll know, but your wife won't know. lined up. Cross piece on. One screw up. Yeah, and if you do have a friend come over and they notice that one of these boards is a little crooked and they ask you about it, I think that's probably a sign you probably don't want to be friends with them anyway. Alright. Check this one lastly to make sure it's centered. Then you run your screws up from here. The screws will do most of the work, but the glue will just, add a little strength. Alright, so take your clamps off, we're almost done. Shutter is almost made. Alright, flip it over. Now, you're going to want to take one of your old shutters that you've taken off. You can do this later or now, depending if you have your shutter available. Set it on, line it up, because we need to transfer the holes. So, my shutters are exactly the same width, so it doesn't matter. I can just center it. If you're going wider, you want to make sure you either hold your screw holes to the inside of your shutter, because you don't want it to go close to your window. You want it to grow away from it. Or, if you want, just put your holes in your corners and make new holes in the side of your house. But if you want to hit the same holes, you want to use your old shutter to line it up. Now, these old shutters also had 6 holes. And the middle set would line up right with my middle board here. So I've been only doing 4 and they've been holding fine. So drill your holes through, and then you're going to want to look over. Just make sure there's no spots you want to touch up, anything you missed. Once it's up, you're working from a ladder, everything becomes much more difficult. So, there it is. That's all there is to it. So, you want to impress your neighbors, your wife, your mother-in-law? Now you know how.